You think about somebody you love dearly. Who will she represent to you? Okay. Now you've got to say goodbye to your mom. And you tell the phone to be quiet. Say goodbye to your mother. And remember those times she's asked you to come see her, but you were too busy. You had other things to do. Remember, she wanted you to travel to Paris or wherever, whatever she wanted you to do, but you never did it. But now you really will not have that time. Say goodbye to your mom.
Mother, I cherish you for everything that you taught me. You've always been my rock, my salvation. And I'll never be able to forgive for the time that I did have with you and for not spending and sharing the love with you.
Now she's your mom. You say goodbye.
And I never had time because I always work. And this is so hard because I love my mother so much. And I miss a lot of times. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I wish I could find nothing. But I promise, from this day on, I'm gonna make time. Because that's why I have done this time today. So long. My daughter.
And I want you to feel it. Think about it. That's your daughter. You probably haven't done everything you should do. Now you've got 2 weeks to say goodbye to that precious child. Think about it.
Trinity, even though you're not with me, I won't rob you with you. You always feel my heart when I'm lying to myself. And I always feel you around me. And I never say no. And I think I'm going to go. So thank you for blessing me to be free moments every time.
You've got to spend time with her now. Who is she to you?
My great grandma. And Mama May, I just want to tell you that I was in the 8th grade and I was too busy with school and
Go ahead. I want her to hear you.
I was too busy with school and basketball and everything else, and I was too young to be concerned and realize what an honor it was to even know a great grandmother. And know that you were always in my heart, but I just didn't realize how important it was to spend time with you. And my dad and mom would tell me, you need to go spend time with your great grandma, but I was too busy about our 8th grade trip and all that stuff. But I just want to let you know that I did love you, even though I didn't show it in the best way.
I want all of you to turn to somebody next to you. Turn to somebody next to you. Find a partner. Find somebody. Say to them, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's just an exercise, but it's an exercise with a message. The more we postpone, the love we have, the things that we have to do, the less likely we're ever going to get to it. So I'm asking you to turn to somebody. Pretend they're your loved one. Promise them, from now on, I'm going to make the time for you. Say it. From now on. From now on, you are never going to be second. Anything about you is more important to me. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. I love you, my daughter. Whoever they are to you, please give them a hug and pretend you're hugging your loved one. Hug them. You don't have to know them. Just hug them. Please be seated. Thank you. Write your own story. Now, when you get ready to write your own story, bear in mind there are some books already written for you. Is that not true? You know the first book. Who wrote the first book for you? Can you tell me? Your parents. Oh, yes. You know you were going to be their little doctor, the engineer, the lawyer. That's the book. Oh, he looks like a football player. He looks like a doctor. He's got the right kind of eyes. They determine what you want to be before you even realize what you want to be. That's the first story. Sometimes we succeed through going through the pages of that book. But a lot of times there are disappointments. Why? Because it's not really what we want to be. Then there's book number 2. Written by your friends, those who tell you who they think you are. Come on. Raise your hand if I'm telling the truth. You know, those who tell you you're not good enough. You're never going to make it. Why you want to study law? You don't look like a lawyer. You know? My uncle has a position. They need a worker. You can work for him. You've got those people. That's book number 2. But you know the tragedy about book number 2? It has probably one of the greatest influences in our lives. Because we do what? We read it and read it over again until it becomes part of our... Okay, you fill the blanks. And as long as we believe what others tell us, you can't get started to achieve any kind of results. Then there's book number 3. That's the one you wrote based on number 1 and 2. And it's the most confused batch of stuff. You take a little from what mama said, what daddy said, what your friend said, what your husband said. The ones that are left behind, everybody, you compile all of that and you have a horrid little book. Now, today, however, we're going to write a new book. But for us to write that new book, I want all of you to grab your chest. Pretend you have a vest on. Take it off. Wrap it up. And get over it. Come on now, back up and go away. You don't need that. Because guess what? Now look at yourselves. That's a new you. Because guess what? This book is based on what? Your own perspective. Your own perspective. Now, you need a pen, right? You need a paper. The question is, what kind of pen are you going to use? Are you going to use a pencil? Madame, what are you going to use? An ink pen. Good for you. Would you even use it? You don't even have to use it. There are no rules. You may not even want to write. You may be happy with your life. You may put the ink away and put it in the drawer and let it dry up. You may do that. People do that. You have the gift of life to write your own story. You're given a pen and a paper, and what do? You don't do anything with it. You don't even get started. You wonder, what should I write? What am I going to write about? And then, what kind of paper are you going to use? Is it going to be striped? You know what happens with lined paper? What happens with the lined paper? It restricts what? What does it do? It restricts your movement. And when it does that, you only write based on what you think people would like. You know the best kind of paper to use? One with no lining. And use a pencil so you can erase all that mess that come along. Yes, make sure it has an eraser so that when somebody comes and shoots on you, you know what it is when somebody shoots on you? You should do this, you do that, you do this, that, and the other. Erase them right off your paper. Turn to your neighbor and say, don't you shoot on me. That's right. When you start to write, make sure you use something so you can erase it and use a paper that's clean. Doesn't have any mess on it. Do you realize, all of you here, when I look at you, because you've got the vests, you've thrown away the vests. This place is cluttered with vests. Invisible vests, yes, but there nonetheless. There's nothing to start writing. I want you to repeat after me. There's nothing I want, that I don't already have. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you believe it. Y'all don't believe it? Yes, you do. Hallelujah. Go on now. There's nothing you need that doesn't already exist. Whoever wants something that doesn't exist? Huh? There's nothing anybody has that you cannot have. What do they have? 2 heads? They're human like you. However they got it, find out. Hello? If they got it, that means it's available for you too, right? Okay, you just have to know how to go after it. There's nothing anybody has that's too good for you. And that's where the problem comes. Sometimes we don't even believe that we have the right. We have the right to good stuff. Because somebody said, there's nothing more noble, more sacred than you. You know what life is all about? Do you know how you came on this earth? Through love.